Oyster River, Pembroke. That game was one of the craziest games. The crowd was unbelievable. Pembroke brings it when they go to UNH. They bring awesome crowds. And of course, Oyster River, they drive a mile and a half over, and they were terrific. That's a great basketball tradition over at Oyster River, mostly because of the Freels. And just to see them back in it, it was an absolutely insane crowd and an unbelievable atmosphere for a Final Four game.
I think the kids might be into it tonight.
Just a little bit.
It might be it.
The Oyster River section, as you would imagine, them being from Durham, is completely jam-packed. Pembroke has brought a nice crowd as well.
Oyster River come out of nowhere to get to the semifinals. They had a great regular season, but they had been really, really bad and really down the last couple of years, but building. And, Lauren Lewis is a good friend of mine. So I understood he knew what he had and he was building. He saw the long road ahead and didn't worry about night-to-night stuff.
My freshman year, we were twin 16. We had 7 seniors that year. They had a lot of leadership, but we didn't necessarily have a lot of talent on the upperclassmen. We definitely had a really strong young core, and I think Coach Lucas did a really good job fostering that.
I think going into the season last year, going 2-16, we either had the choice to become an actual team or separate from each other, and I think that we came together because of that.
This group was a group of kids that I feel like as for the rest of their lives when they get together, they're going to enjoy the time together and laugh, and that's really what we had.
And you can tell it was a really close team. They all had their hair dyed blonde. Wasn't a great look for all of them, but it's a team building thing. They all had the pink socks on. You can tell they really enjoyed playing together.
They all have their hair dyed blonde, Dave.
Yeah, I noticed that.
And they all have pink socks. That's kind of a hockey thing, but the basketball team has chosen to do it.
And that team coming in, you got to remember, they were supposed to go to Lebanon in the quarterfinals and go play the number 2 seed Lebanon, which is a really hard place to win. Well, John Stark, the 15 seed, went up and beat Lebanon. So that allowed Oyster River to have a home game over John Stark. They rolled in that game. But it makes a difference. It's kind of how they got there in the path. They go to Lebanon and maybe we're not sitting here.
Division II semifinals. We're here at Lundholm Gymnasium. Justin McIsaac, Dave Haley. And the best week of the year begins right now, Dave, and a really good matchup on hand, Pembroke and Oyster River.
We call this preseason.
That's right.
So Pembroke was playing Co-Brown in the quarterfinals. I actually did that game for MOSN, and it was a really close back and forth game until about the fourth quarter.
Spartans up 6, danger zone here for Co-Brown. Up top it goes for Menard. Left side for Sherman for 3! Oh no!
Just hit a bucket load of threes and said, nah, we're all good.
There was a lot of controversy around Pembroke, in the state of New Hampshire, and there was a lot of, coaches that didn't really feel great about what was going on in Pembroke. But it had nothing to do with this group. It had nothing to do with Rich Otis, and I think it kind of subsided by then. But the book on this team coming in was they could score all day, but they couldn't defend you. They just try to beat you 80-75 every single night. And what Rich Otis did the day he went in as head coach, I remember talking to him all throughout his first week, 2 weeks as their new head coach. He's like, we're going to play D because we're not going to win anything if we don't. And they didn't like it at first, but they absolutely followed him, and he led them right there to that semifinal.
Going into the game, Coach was really big on Sean Menard and Noah Cummings along with Jake Sherman because they're pretty much their big 3 of guys that will score a majority of the points. So if we're able to lock them down and slow down their pace on defense because they like to run, then we were going to have a shot later on in the game.
So again, some 2-2-1 pressure here from Pembroke. Looking to cross the timeline. They do with a second to spare, perhaps. It goes down low to Max Lewis and puts it up and in. 4-0 Bobcats.
Max Lewis is one of those kids who's not going to be, in this moment, it's not going to be too big for him.
The thing I remember early was Max Lewis was really tough early on for Oyster River, and Brendan Oxford, who was more known as a baseball player, and rightly so. He's at Wake Forest now. He had a couple of big buckets early on in that one.
Herman, deep 3 on the way, off the mark. A little too strong. Rebound saved by Menard, but into the hands of Oxford. Oxford with a 1-on-2 to the bucket, lays it up and in, and he's fouled. And that's going to be 2 on Jake Sherman.
Yeah, that's not a smart foul by Sherman. You got to let the guy go.
It's back and forth. Brendan Oxford made some big plays early. Max Lewis is kind of in the middle of the thing. Joe Morrell was just kind of one of those kids that he seemed very comfortable. When you're at half court, you really could kind of pick up on things, just body language and the way kids are. And sometimes kids will look at you and smile in the middle of a game, and you kind of know, like, oh, this kid's he's fine. And Joe Morrell was like that. He was just very comfortable in that game.
We played them early in the season at their place, and we definitely knew how that 1-3-1 was going to affect us. But we knew that we would be able to attack it on that bigger floor, space them out. So I really tried to open up the court and attack the seams, do a lot of ball faking. We were able to get up the court pretty effectively in the beginning of the game. I got one good look to Brennan early on that really opened it up and eliminated their ability to run that the full game.
Here's Morrill up the middle, jump pass to the baseline for Oxford. Nice take, lays it up and in.
Now that is a nice pass by Joe Morrill. Great creativity.
For Pembroke, it was Jake Sherman and Sean Menard and Noah Cummings early on. That was his coming out party. Oh, you haven't seen me play? Get ready. And he was fantastic. Noah Cummings was great in that game.
It's like now.
A lot of high ball screen action by Pembroke. You know, this is exactly what they're trying to do. Everybody's going to pass and screen.
Noah Cummings gets it down low and scoops and scores. 1 point game. And
I know starting the game, we were all really excited. The attitudes were good in the locker room. We couldn't wait to start, and I think we carried that with us through the first quarter.
last time Oyster River was here at Lundholm as jump stop in the middle, shoveling it up, yes, for Cam Thibodeau.
And then when we hit the second quarter, we started to feel like it was just another game. And that's when we lost a lot of our energy. We found it hard to put the ball in the basket. And even defensively, we were struggling. The communication was down. I think that was a lot of adjustment to the crowd being so big and loud the whole time. And it just took us a while to get back into our rhythm throughout the game.
Pick up, left side it goes to Sherman.
I walked into that.
Shafford moves it over to Menard. Right side three, no, gets his own rebound off the window and in.
Nobody there to rebound for Oyster River. Good hustle by Menard, but really just nobody there.
Early on, we were obviously getting a little tired. The court's longer, so I think Lauren was trying to give us a few more breaks so we could catch our breath.
LaHoulier, he'll drive to the bucket. No, another missed layup for Oyster River.
Good transition. Good job by Noah Cummings to get out in front.
Went coast to coast, laid it up and in, just a 3-point game. And Lauren Lucas wants a timeout. His team has not scored here in the second quarter.
Going into any tournament game or playoff game, you know that a team is going to go up and down, and that when you play a team like Pembroke, you know they're going to make runs at you. So you try not to panic, but you're in that setting, you're at UNH, and you worry, obviously. And Pembroke was getting hot, but thank God halftime came.
At the end of the half, Cummings, they kind of clear out for Noah Cummings at the top of the key. He makes a play and hits the basket at the end of the half, and I remember thinking, this game feels like it's going to the wire. If we do, that's probably where they're going to go to at the end of the game.
11 seconds to go in the half. Cummings out by the volleyball line, up the screen, goes to his right, keeps on going to the bucket, puts it up, tough shot, he got it to go.
Boy, that's a tough shot.
1 second to go, Oyster River won't get one away, and that is how the first half ends. Well, Pembroke only led for 16 seconds in that first half, Dave, but they lead it going into the locker room 20-18.
They're going to lead it for 15 minutes right now.
All right.
As the game went on, Kyle Landrigan figured out that he was the mismatch, that he could really take advantage of a size advantage he had over the front line of Pembroke. And time again, you saw him stepping up and making plays for them.
Up top for Landrigan. He'll reset for Lewis on the left side. Now the right goes back to Landrigan, beats his man in the bucket, scoops and scores.
Yeah, Sean Menard got caught with his arm in the passing lane, and once the ball got past him, Landrigan had a wide open lane.
And in that game, he would all of a sudden realize that he could shoot over everybody, and that was such a huge moment. You could almost see it in the game. I remember him driving the lane and putting it up off the glass and realizing that he could now go over everybody, and it obviously, the third quarter especially, helped us get comfortable.
For Max Lewis that time for Noah Cummings, and it's 27-22. And nearly a steal by Sherman. Here goes Landrigan to the bucket, scoops it up and in, while Sherman gambled and lost that time.
That's what he's capable of, Landrigan. They got to get him going too.
And I think Rich Otis wants a timeout.
The last 2 seasons, our biggest weapon is that we have 3 people that are able to score 30 points any night, and I think early on I was able to get going, and then Max later on, but Kyle in the middle for that big chunk of the game was able to really effectively score, get in the lane, and finish over the top to use his length and his size.
More sayings.
Get Josh Worsett back here.
As here goes Landrigan, Gets to the paint, kicks it out. 3-ball on the way. Yes.
Good play. I like how Max Lewis fanned out to the corner. The help defense had to come because Landrigan had driven a couple times. That allowed Max Lewis to get an open shot.
Jake Sherman started to really heat up for them, and something he'd done his entire career at Pembroke, but he started to get loose, and he became really the focal point of that Oyster River defense. Once he started hitting those three, he got hot, and it's something that he did quite often that year for them.
31-29. I think that's the first three-pointer of the night for Oyster River. Sherman with a counter punch on the other end for the left wing. 34-29.
That kid can shoot.
Pembroke, as we resume play in the third quarter, 2:59 to go. Pressure from Oyster River as it goes into Cummings. Cummings races up the middle, leaves it underneath. The layup is good from Jack LaHoulier.
Brandon Oxford was back, and he faked him out by looking to his left and shot it to his right. Great play.
I knew I'd been watching Noah Cummings through the whole game, and he had been telegraphing his passes a little bit, especially getting to that point. So I knew at some point I'd have an opportunity to jump the passing lane and get the ball and pick up the offense for our team and get the tempo going in our favor. And so I knew when he brought the ball down and he looked right at my man, I knew that was my spot. So I held off a little bit, and then once I saw the ball going, I took it. And Noah Cummings was obviously faster than me and was able to chase me down. And so I just hit that little Euro step and went up and under with my right hand. And I honestly thought I missed it at first until I heard our bench up on their feet cheering for me.
Picked off by Lewis. Lewis trying to go coast to coast. Steps around. Cummings reverse layup.
Oh, boy.
A little Euro step action for Max Lewis.
Who knew?
7 points. And it cuts the lead to 5.
You could see at the end of games like this, like who the coaches trust, and one kid that had all the trust in the world. Well, Noah Cummings, certainly, from his coach Sean Menard as well from Pembroke, but you saw Max Lewis kind of in the middle of everything, and you could see that Lauren could kind of communicate with him and let him know what they were trying to get done on both ends of the floor. And I think that's just something that's built up over 3-4 years of coaching a kid in a program, and that's what the case was with Lauren and Max Lewis.
Just having a full-on conversation with Kevin Sabrini right now. It's a one-way conversation.
Rich is usually having a conversation with somebody.
Yeah.
One of the things we like about him.
Both of these guys work the officials.
Right side, 3 is on the way. Lewis knocks it down.
Now there's something. Now you found something. Now you got a kid who's stroking it pretty well. That's going to help their offense because spread things out for Oyster River.
Down to a 2-point game. 40 seconds to go in the third quarter. River is
They're in a zone.
Shackford to inbound. Up it goes to Cummings. Nearly got it stolen. Cummings for the foul line jumper. Tie game.
Great shot, great patience by Cummings. Take that nice dribble, set himself on fire.
Noah Cummings all night, all game long, hurt us. And we couldn't help because Jake Sherman was killing us from every open shot.
Brad Zapanis. I mean, we got a lot of them.
That's true. Right side it goes. One more over to Sherman. Right corner 3. Yes.
Oh, that kid.
So we had to try to go one-on-one coverage, and you can't go one-on-one coverage against him. And he hit big shot after big shot. Again, I felt like our kids were able to respond.
Oyster River has it the offensive end down a point.
Wait, this offense is Landrigan creating.
Landrigan picks up his dribble.
They keep looking for Oxford, but
Bounce entry to the right block, gives it back to Landrigan for 3. Yes!
woo!
With a hand in his face.
Making a play, Landrigan.
2-point lead for Oyster River. Landrigan down with 15. Halfway through the fourth quarter.
We're officially to the point where the team that loses is going to be crushed.
Exactly.
I knew that running our offenses up and down the court, we knew that they were going to try to eliminate Kyle just because he was hot and he was able to make some buckets down the stretch. That's why Max was able to get so open. They had really tried to focus on Kyle, really tried to focus on Brennan away in the post, and Max was able to stretch the floor and hit some big shots down the stretch.
Kyle Landrigan on the right side, nearly lost it, tracked it down, looking to the left, gets it to Lewis. Lewis with a drive, lays it up and in.
Big boy take by Max Lewis. Big boy take.
45-43. Lewis with 12 points now. And Landrigan goes into the backcourt to Cummings. Gives the play call. 13 seconds to go over the half-court stripe. 12 seconds to go. Tie game.
And it looked like Noah Cummings was going to be the hero because he got the ball with about 17 seconds to go, and they kind of ran a clear out for him. He was one-on-one, and he got to that right elbow, and got a little bit of space and hit the jumper, and the place went nuts, and it was just dead silent on the other side.
Clock running with 9 seconds to go. Cummings fiddling and diddling. 6 seconds. Starts the play. Pull-up jumper. Yes!
Cummings hits the pull-up jumper. It's a really tough shot, and it was what he did all game long. It felt like Noah Cummings won that game like 2 or 3 times.
The iconic image of that was Noah Cummings hitting the shot and then pointing up at the sky, you know, and it was crazy.
Oyster River's got 2 timeouts. They take one with 1.3 to go.
They should get one more than 1.3.
Yeah, they'll reset the clock, but what a shot from the right elbow. Noah Cummings.
After it went in, our first thought was get a timeout, because if we can get a timeout, then we at least have a little time to see what we can do. And then when they put a little bit of time back on the clock, I think that's when we knew like we probably shouldn't throw in the towel yet.
Noah's shot down the stretch when he pointed to the sky, I think a lot of people thought that was kind of the game winner. That was kind of it for us, and I think Coach Lucas did a really good job keeping us focused, keeping us motivated. And when we called that timeout, it was a way for us to kind of reset and to focus on what we needed to do to get it done.
And didn't panic, and that was the biggest thing that I looked at my players after he hit that shot. You could see their faces. They didn't panic. They knew exactly what to do.
Of course, they put a few more seconds on the clock because it ran down to like 1 point whatever. So they gave him, I think, like 5 seconds to inbound the ball. Pembroke had a foul to give, which I thought was a smart play instead of, you know, letting a kid get a run to the basket and maybe get fouled and hit 2 free throws to tie the game, because, you know, kids panic. They foul before a shot in the backcourt.
Right across midcourt.
Oxford looks. Still looking. Fires it with the left hand. Foul comes. Oh, that's a smart play by Pembroke. They had a foul to give there. Don't let him get going to the hoop. And now Lord Lucas will use his final timeout.
So we call a timeout. We wanted the ball closer to half court than we got it. But you know, we got the ball where we got the ball, and we set up the play, and I looked them in the eye and I told them that we weren't done, and that we had done it all year long, and that we were all set. So then I drew up a play that we've run a few times in practice. I actually had run it 3 other times throughout my career. None of them had ever been successful, but I always knew that it had a lot of potential.
In the timeout headed before the inbounds pass, Lauren drew up the play that we had run a couple times in practice, never put it together in a game.
We really try to simulate that atmosphere in practice. We blare our music really loud, and Coach runs a couple plays just to see how they look. Brennan has an amazing ability to throw the ball ridiculously fast, and I think we try to use that asset.
The near sideline. Oxford will inbound. It will be uncontested. 2.2 seconds to go.
The play happened right in front of McIsaac and I. We had no idea what was happening. Lauren had called timeout to get it to half court after they inbounded it.
And the inbounder was Brendan Oxford, who was standing right in front of us. And I mean, who else would you want to throw a pass halfway down the court than the kid that can throw a 93-mile-an-hour fastball?
I had a feeling I was going to pass the ball to Max. I didn't really know if they were coming with us defensively, so I quickly scanned to make sure like what Lauren said was going to happen, and it did.
Nobody with any timeouts. As Oxford looks.
They pretty much focused on Joe and Kyle because they were hot, but when I saw Max streak across the baseline, he was supposed to fly all the way out to the corner.
But then I felt my man drift off me, and so I just stopped where I was, knew Brennan had the arm to find me.
But I thought it'd be a better idea because at the time, nobody was there to see him, to just throw him the ball on the baseline and have him finish it.
And Max and Brennan just read it absolutely perfect. The pass in that play really was the thing that was the nicest to look at.
As Oxford looks, fires.
Because most kids in that situation panic and pass it immediately. He waited 3.5 seconds.
And then when I finally got the ball to me, I took one dribble towards the basket, and I turned backwards because I thought my man was going to pin me on the backboard.
Fires all alone. Lewis dribbles, puts it.
And Max Lewis finds himself on the baseline. with like a second and a half or whatever it was. And then he took a dribble, which I was like, oh no, he took a dribble. This is going to be it.
Was able to go up the hardest way absolutely possible to go to the basket. He chose it.
So that Lewis had to he almost had to play Twister by himself. He got his back to the basket and he was just kind of throwing the thing up there.
And then I finally got the shot off, saw it go through the hoop, and I was so excited.
As Oxford looks, fires, all alone, Lewis dribbles, puts it up, and at the buzzer! What a call by Lauren Lucas!
Somehow, he got the ball to go through, and it was just pandemonium.
And I just went nuts.
Oh, at the buzzer! What a call by Lauren Lucas! We are going to overtime! Look at the look on Kevin Sabrini's face! What a layup by Max Lewis! What a call by Lauren Lucas!
It was honestly the best feeling I've had in athletics or just in my life that I can remember to this point.
When Max hit the shot, I really didn't know how to react, so I was just myself walking back over to the huddle, but Max came out of nowhere and he went to chest bump me and I didn't see him coming and he gashed my whole face open and caused me to miss the first part of overtime.
This game absolutely positively should be in overtime.
And we'll play 4 more minutes. I think they got to give, somebody's getting a new jersey, might have a little blood on it. And actually, whoever that is will have to check out and race to the locker room. So McKenna will come in.
We go into overtime and the place is going absolutely crazy, and it was one of those moments as the coach that I wanted to yell and scream, but had to absolutely try to rein myself in and try to act as the calmest person in the gym.
When we went into overtime, I was definitely super amped up. To have basically your entire town screaming at you and screaming for you is a really awesome environment to be able to play any type of basketball game in, and I was definitely super amped up. Paul Bamford, our assistant, really helped me kind of calm down going into halftime just because I was so excited and so pumped to be where we were.
Sherman will go to the bucket, got a clear out. Oh, nice pass underneath for Smith.
Oh, what a block!
The block by Max Lewis. And here comes Oyster River. Landry was slow to get to his feet. Morrill has it right side. Tries to split the defender. Puts it up. No, they'll wave off the shot, but he is fouled. And there should be 1-and-1 here.
Overtime was really fun. Every basket felt huge, and it's Jake Sherman hitting a shot, it's Joe Morrell hitting shots back and forth.
Down the left wing, puts it on the floor, kicks it out to Sherman, up fakes, now drives, leaves it for Menard for 3. Yes!
Good offense, good kick, good shot.
Floats it up high, no, rebound, and it's taken away as Smith tried to go back up.
I'll tell you, Sherman killed him when they went zone, but he hasn't been able to kill him when they've gone man-to-man with Morrill on him.
Oyster by a point. Here's Landrigan to the bucket off the window and in. Nice take.
All the flack from Landrigan. How do you do?
3-point lead for the Bobcats. 1:15 to go.
What would you rather be doing right now in the world?
Not a thing.
It was just a great high school basketball game. I mean, it was unbelievable when you have the atmosphere. And I mean, if it was an empty gym and there was some janitor watching this thing, it would have been pretty cool. But this was unbelievable with these crowds and these programs. These are two storied programs, and man, it was just fun to watch. It was a pleasure to just be in the gym that night.
He just said it. He goes, "You get stuck, call a timeout."
Yeah, they have one left. They'll inbound.
That's good coach.
And half court. And it goes into Lewis. Lewis got stripped. Ball's on the floor. Pembroke comes away with it. Here's Cummings on the left side for Linscott. Now Cummings up top. 17 seconds to go.
They get the ball to Sherman, who's like this baby-faced assassin-looking kid. I mean, he's got the nicest face. He's always smiling, and he just hits a dagger 3.
Can Cummings do it again? He goes to his right. Leaves it for Sherman for 3. Yes! 6 seconds to go!
How many times do you see a team give up a crushing, whether it's basketball, give up a crushing basket to send the game to overtime, or in football, a crushing play, and the team just melts after that? Well, Pembroke had the wherewithal, to stay in overtime and then hit what looked like it was going to be the go-ahead basket, or the winning basket. And then they committed a foul on the inbounds.
6 seconds to go! And Pembroke Pembroke's called for a foul, it looks like. Oh, my.
Oh, he's going to the line.
Oh, my. What a mistake. Sherman buries the three to give Pembroke the lead, but Oyster River's going to the line.
It didn't look like much of a foul.
Which was, and if I remember my play-by-play correct, I was like, my heart was just breaking. I was like, oh, what a mistake! Oh!
You know, fouls, it's a tough call at the end of the game, and, you know, the kid did get bumped. It's a tough play, but really what matters most is Max Lewis has still got to go to the line, he's still got to hit 2 free throws with everyone in the gym watching him and all the pressure in the world on him.
When I was walking down to the free throw line, in my head I started thinking about what would happen if I had missed the free throw, and I did not like what would have happened. So in that moment I just told myself I had to hit both these free throws. Before I even got the ball in my hands, I looked over at the bench, saw Lauren, and he just had so much confidence in his eyes. I knew at that point that I was able to hit these free throws, and there was never a doubt in my mind after that once I had the ball.
I may just have a heart attack before this is over, Dave
Good
Haley.
grief, Charlie Brown.
Lewis, the front end of the 1-and-1. Yes!
This kid is something. This kid is something.
Tied at 57. No timeouts for Pembroke if he makes it.
Hey, if you're Oyster River, you're Morrill and McKenna. You better be ready to get back. There's 4 seconds if he hits this.
Second one. Yes! 3.9 to go, no timeouts. Lauren Lucas going to use a full timeout. That's interesting.
So I actually, throughout my whole career, if I have a timeout and I can have an opportunity, even if I know it gives the coach an opportunity to set up a play, I want my defense set. There was a game long time ago that I lost at the end of the game. A kid threw the ball inbounds, caught the ball, hit a shot from half court. We lose the game, and for the rest of my career, I said I was going to use a timeout to stop the clock and set up my defense.
Pembroke will have to go the length of the floor in 3.9 seconds and get a shot away. Certainly doable, Dave.
Absolutely. Oh, they got time. They got plenty of time.
At the timeout after my free throws, Lauren looked each one of us in the eyes and said, if we don't foul this game, we're headed to the championship. So when we went back out, our whole mindset was no layup and keep your hands off of the other players.
Possession arrow. It'll be Tyler Smith to inbound, unguarded. Pressure, though.
During the huddle, he pretty much said, don't let anybody get behind you and do not foul, because if you foul, you're going to lose the game. So at that point, it was pretty strange watching with my hands up in front of Noah before he took the shot and just having to watch it go through and hoping it didn't. And it was a relief when he missed.
Pressure, though.
They're back. They got 3 guys back.
It goes into Sherman. Sherman at half court. 1 second to go. Left side. Cummings for 3. No good. And Oyster River will play for a state championship in their hometown on Saturday afternoon.
One of my favorite images is, I don't think a kid was trying to storm the court, but he kind of like fell over the Oyster River bench. This kid in like a blue tank top, and this cop just grabs him by the back of the shirt and kind of like, whee, spins him around, and Lauren Lucas looks down like, no, that's interesting. Like, and Oyster River found themselves in the finals. It's one of the greatest games I've ever seen.
So we win the game, and obviously we are going absolutely bonkers, screaming, yelling, and I see my friend Dave Haley walk in, and to be quite honest, I completely forgot about your role, about everything. I was just so excited.
I can't.
Nah, it's all right, man. We're talking. Somebody need to pop in, just say hi.
We'll have blackout Saturday.
All right, you tell me when you're ready.
Great time. Lauren was talking to them, and I kind of peeked my head in just to see when we could get in there. I didn't want to interrupt, and Lauren saw me and said, come on in here. That's just our friendship and something Jen and I have earned over the years, which means everything to us. But I was in there when he talked to his kids, and it was great. And it was just to be there, and you can see my expression in that interview. I love that picture. I love that moment. Brennan and all those kids, man. It was really special. It was really special.
Holy Jesus! Where do I start?
It was a pretty sweet interview at the end because we had guys from the early days when Lauren got there. He struggled through the first few years. Pete Antonetti was helping us assistant coach. He had tears in his eyes. It helped me realize how important it was to not only us but people around that we were being successful and they could get behind us for a good cause.
And I think it's a really awesome ability to be with people that you work the whole season with and to have fun with at the end of a game like that when you're so both physically and emotionally drained from having to play 40 minutes of pretty intense, critical basketball where every single possession counts.
But Paul said to me yesterday at practice that if I didn't have my hands up, he was going to cut him off with a chainsaw. So I put my hands up. I tried to get past lanes. They can shoot the ball. I mean, those are the two of the best guards in our state. I just can't believe that we stopped them.
No, it's unbelievable.
For us, it was huge. It was a huge moment for our program to actually be able to have an interview with you guys, with New Hampshire Sports Page, and that moment was for us, for our program. We felt like it was a big moment for us as well.
We're a team. We're a team. I mean, we're an ultimate team where all of these guys in this room, every single one of them has a big part in what we did. Some guys had more part of it, but the last 2 days of practice, and I know the next 3 that we're going to get, we're going after it.
What makes basketball in New Hampshire so special is that it's such a small town event, but it ends up being what a lot of people remember when they leave high school, and it's important. It makes a lot of memories because of the area we live in. It's not over the top, but it is like a small town thing that ends up being big if you make it big.
You got to now sit there and watch two teams try to kill themselves to get to you, and this is where I get out because it's all about them. Oyster River!